Everybody.
Hi, Jeremy.
Perfect. Michelle 5. Hey, Laura, thanks for joining us. Perfect. We've got a quorum, which is fantastic. I'm Michelle, Brad, Mark, Tom, Carl.
Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
My window into the meeting. I'm gonna have to leave and come back, I guess.
Wait, why is that, Tom? We can see you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tom.
But I can't see, or I can hear all of you. I can't see a thing. Weird. Well, I can't really do much tonight except listen anyway. I had a recent surgery and I don't have a voice yet. So imagine me without a voice.
No, can't imagine that, Tom.
Yeah, so Carl, you're on the hook. And until I figure this out, I'll just listen in.
Well, your voice sounds fine, Tom. So if you want to, kick off the meeting, I can at least, I can take over whenever you'd like.
I'll do this. Call the meeting to order. I'm done.
It's exactly 6:30, so good timing. I don't believe we have anybody from the public that is joining us, so I'm looking just to make sure.
You're correct.
Okay, so if not,
But Kim just joined too, which is great.
looks like Brad has joined us too. And Michelle, looks like, okay. So I think we just move on to the next point of order on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from Monday, November 4th. Do I hear a move to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion. This is Mark.
And a second?
Michelle Nerowitz will second it.
I tried.
I'll just make sure I jot that down, guys. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 No one opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved from the last meeting. And I just wanted to make sure I closed the public comments section, which I think I did, but didn't do it very, very authoritatively. So there you go. So shall we move on to the agenda items, which I think is going to begin with the sustainability implementation plan with Laura, if I've got it right. Hi, Laura.
Hi, nice to see you. Hi to everybody, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. If I could share my screen, I've just got a couple slides to, let's see, help out. Let's try that. There we go. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So first of all, like I said, thank you for having me. I'm just here to kind of give you a brief overview of the Sustainable Purchasing Policy Implementation Plan and to gather any comments and feedback for making it better. The plan includes an overview. All of this hopefully was in your packet so you could review it quickly. We have a flow chart that demonstrates the prioritization of goals. We have guidance for each important category, certifications, and then some tools to help staff implement the plan. We've identified a 5-year timeline to kind of roll it out, some various measurements, and a checklist to help with the research, decision-making, and budget forms. So how do we choose the prioritization? We followed city policy. And if you look through all of these policies, climate and energy and environmental stewardship were at the top of the list. So that's how we tried to set the priorities. The highest are climate and energy. And so the categories that most affect those are your vehicles and equipment, HVAC and natural gas appliances, and cement and building materials. You'll notice that that falls under quotes and bids because the vast majority of our cement and building materials are acquired that way. So just by changing some language, we can achieve some savings there. And then next are water conservation and chemicals and cleaning. And then our lowest priorities are paper, disposable, and office supplies, mainly because the city just doesn't purchase that much, so it's a pretty low impact. To help with this, we've provided some tools and external resources. We have some that are just separate, and then others I tried to embed a little bit in all the guidance sheets. So let's take a look at one of the guidance sheets. Each guidance sheet for each category includes a maxim or a rule of thumb, just what should be top of mind when you're thinking about this. The standards are what's actually city policy that needs to be followed. And so we list these out here, and we tried to note why they're there, given city goals and things like that. We've included questions. We do have a checklist, but if you're just working on one page, we try to keep things to one page per category if possible. Sometimes went to 2, but we included questions there to help you out. And then the tools are down here as well. The standards, the ones for quote, turn this off, and bids, we tried to incorporate some things that are important to the city, such as the city statement that the city promotes sustainability within its operations and community. And so part of that is just to educate potential bidders as to what we're looking for here and what the city stands for. One thing that we have included is requests for more environmental certifications, or EPDs. That stands for Environmental Product Disclosures. This is both an attempt to clean up our supply chain and make sure that the products and the subcontractors and everything that we buy, we're not contributing to the problem, but we're actually trying to reduce our footprint. It's also meant to educate contractors who may or may not be aware of some of their impacts, and then also to encourage competition. So if one contractor is giving certifications and another is not, they'll start to realize that, and maybe that will help them to improve their business and compete along these lines. It's also a form of measurement. This is something we've never collected or looked at before. So the idea is like to kind of get a baseline. Where are we at? How big of a problem is this? Let's find out what our subs are doing, and let's see what we can do to kind of improve our environmental footprint. In terms of chemicals, the main targets are to eliminate unnecessary toxins and reduce excessive use. So while we kind of put chemicals all together with cleaning products, we did kind of break it out a little bit for internal and external. The cleaning is a little bit more developed. There's a lot of options and choices here. In cleaning products, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So to help guide staff, we gave some basic standards, but at the included in this packet, there's lots of logos and things where if you just run across something that you like, you could kind of check against it to see, does it meet the standards? Does it have one of these seals? This is one that went to 2 pages, so I just listed all the supporting tools that we have. We are in the process of building some of these ourselves, and so for the time being, we've just linked to the guidance sheets that Santa Monica has for all these different categories. None of them run more than 2 pages, and that's including big pictures. We have a 5-year plan to try and get through kind of the whole rollout, I would say. This is a living document, so the idea is to get started with this, see where the pinch points are, see where we have some difficulty, and then adjust later on. So if you look at the first 2 years, this is where we really do focus on energy, and we try to prioritize what would give us the biggest bang for our buck. So doing things like updating the quotes and bids in concrete language, Concrete all by itself counts for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So if we can use low carbon concrete and cement, then that's a pretty easy win for us with very little lift. So the rest of this plan kind of focuses on taking an inventory and working to draw down our, whether it's fleet or whether it's powered equipment or something else, kind of draw down the items that are fossil fuel intensive. So reduce that over time. Some of this affects, I'd say, public works a little bit more than the golf, such as acquiring the Cenex fuel data, and then updating guidance sheets. That's us, the sustainability committee. But then also, how can we use and update the budget request forms to work on measurement? One of the requests from staff was to use the existing procedures to collect some of our data, so we tried to work within that as well. This might affect the golf course a little bit more because you have a lot of powered equipment. I would assume you have mowers and blowers and golf carts and things like that. So the idea is to do an inventory or take an inventory and look what's on the market and then try to draw it down over time. Something that's important, we think, to help educate the public is to update and organize the website with this policy, supporting materials and energy metrics. We're quite well aware that there are some members of the community that are quite vocal on our climate and energy goals. And we feel that it was our discovery that more is probably being done than they're aware of. So we would like to get that out to the public via the website and other channels. And so the idea is to get some of this data, put it together in a little bit easier to digest format, put it up on the website. So hopefully this will maybe calm down some of those people that realize that things are actually being done. And then the next year we work on chemicals and water, single use. What we're really looking at here is to try and do an inventory and see where we're at. Again, this isn't for a few years here. We're not ever going to be able to eliminate it. A lot of the single use is really medical use that can affect the EMTs and things like that. And there's not a whole lot you can do about that, but to just know where we're at with that and our footprint would be very helpful. And then we can look at ways to possibly keep that under control. And then finally, over here, I don't know if you could see this. Let me see if I can pull this up to the top so you can see this. The last year, we would like to basically audit and adjust, hold review sessions again with staff. I spent a fair amount of time talking to staff, and that took a lot of their time. So we want to hold that to a minimum, but to check in with them to see what's working, where the challenges are, what of the staff suggested projects have been completed. For example, one of those suggested projects was to eliminate the chemicals in the cleaning indoors. They didn't want to be sucking those down while they were working inside. So were we able to achieve those? And then from there, update the goals, plans, measurements, guides, and then celebrate as a team, because this is going to take a team effort to solve that. The last thing, whoops, there we go, is the checklist. And the checklist, which was Jeremy's idea, thank you for that, was to kind of have, all the information basically on one page. This has actually been fairly popular. I know that Alder Nelson likes the idea that this will be included in the budget request forms because it will help them to make their decision at council. So the idea is to give staff a little bit of guidance on the research process. I doubt that any of this is too new, except for trying to tie some of the things together to relevant city goals and also using the life cycle analysis tool. Also, we wanted to have staff looking to the sustainability coordinator to see if there's any rebates that might help them out, because she would know when it's maybe not common knowledge what's available. And then the decision justification process, I mean, it's pretty easy. If the most sustainable option is the cheapest, you choose that. But what's the cutoff? And so when I took this to council, I made them aware that they need to determine what kind of cutoff are we talking about. Milwaukee County uses a 20% threshold. I don't know what we're going to be using for that, or if they want anything. They may just want to know all the options. So that is something that council will have to determine. But then you kind of go through the list and look at, you know, if you're not choosing the most sustainable option, then justify it. We also think that having this justification process organized will also help to communicate with some of the citizens that don't understand how complicated this is, and how sometimes the most sustainable option is, it's not the most obvious, and sometimes the best purchase is none at all. Can you delay it for a year until technology or product becomes available? So by having this, I guess, decision-making process a little bit more transparent, maybe they will understand some of the challenges that we're facing as a city. And then finally, the ideas obviously describe the request in the budget form, list specific city goals and objectives that it addresses. It is my understanding that the requests that tie to city goals are preferenced over those that are not tied to city goals, I guess. And then to include this justification in the budget request form so they can understand everybody's thinking. And so that is the implementation plan overall. And I would like to now open it up for any questions or comments or anything to help me improve it.
Comments, questions? Anyone?
Thoughts?
A comment for me, Laura. I thought it was. I know it's been back and forth a lot, so there's been a lot that's been put into it. So thanks for going through it and showing us how organized it is. Because you go through it, I read through it, and it was like, okay, it followed very logically. So I think there's a lot there, but it does break it down to make it pretty easy to follow. So I didn't have any specific recommendations for improvement, but I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
So I've got a couple questions, maybe comments. Can you, so what are the next steps here, Laura? Can you maybe speak to that right quick, if you don't mind?
As I understand it, once we gather this final round of comments for the committees, then I'm to take it back to council and present it in kind of its final form and update them on what the committee said. So for example, Public Works, they wanted to know a little bit more about the FALCA tool, which stands for Fleet Asset Lifecycle Cost Analysis. We are going to have that vetted by a local engineering firm. They could not get done in 2024, so it is on our schedule. Kelly's already sent it out to them to try and get done in early 2025. I suggested we also look at Milwaukee County's life cycle. They have an internal one as well to make sure that we are using the best tool possible, and that everything that is in that tool is still applicable, because things change quickly. So that is one thing that I do know that's being done based on what Public Works recommended.
Yeah, and I would echo that, right? Myself and our mechanic Eric Meinholz, we try to vet that FALCA tool to the best of our ability, and it's not the easiest, and we feel like there are some massive loopholes, or not maybe loopholes, that's not the right. It's just there's some gaps that we're just unsure on. Like for example, when we compare diesel, a 19, let's say, or a 2005 diesel tractor compared to a 2015 diesel tractor, that is not a like for like comparison, right? And so there are things that we would like to just understand a little bit more about this FALCA tool before, frankly, I can suggest a recommendation to moving forward with any sort of plan until I know more about it, right? And maybe I'm getting too narrowed down on it and need to think more broad picture here, but the Falca tool was a rather large concern that we've got right now. Training that, well, that goes back to the Falca tool. But another concern I have is, in regards to, well, like, for example, we're living this currently, who do we trust, right? I am getting, we hired a consultant, we hired architects, we hired people that literally build buildings for their living, telling us, hey, this is the best solution for you all. And then we get feedback from the general public that completely contradicts that. And I sit here as a staff going, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to trust? And I don't know, right? And that's a really unfortunate situation. And right now, in our current state, our building is being delayed because we're keep asking about all these things, and it's costing more and more money, more resources, and frankly, a lot of time. And I would love to know who truly has the city's best interest at heart and its staff. These are things that I would just love to understand before I sit there and go head first, say, yeah, let's do this implementation plan. I'm all in. I think those are just a couple key concerns right now is maybe the lack of training, transparency of that Falca tool, and who exactly has our best interest at heart.
Okay, well, I can definitely address that both with the committee and with the council. I can't answer that right now because I don't know exactly, obviously, what the engineers said to you versus what you're hearing from the public. And I would say that there are probably parties on both sides that have different agendas. I mean, obviously, the engineers want the business and the public has their own passions. So, navigating that is tough, and it's definitely tough on staff, and we are aware of that. We've encountered that speaking with a lot of staff, which is part of the reason that I felt it was so important that we communicate better with some of at least the more vocal city members out there.
And I think this is where the training can go in, right? Like I sit there and look at your, okay, we're gonna get an inventory of all the HVAC within the city, and we're gonna come up with a replacement plan. Well, maybe we all need to be trained on what we're fixing to replace this stuff with, because I think there's a lack of understanding. At least I know there is on my part. And I sit there and I again trust the people that we do business with. For example, our HVAC reps that tell us, hey, this is the system that you should have due to the volume that you do, or whatever the case is, whatever the metrics are out there. I would just love some training on all of this so I can fully understand what is truly the best decision, not just from a sustainability standpoint, but from code, from efficiency, everything, all of this, all of the above. I don't know, it just makes me a little nervous to sit there and say, hey, we're going to start replacing all the HVAC stuff with air source heat pumps when I have no idea what that stuff is. And so training, I think, is a really big concern that I've got.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I can pass that along as well. And I guess reply to that, I think everybody's a little bit in this. Like, one thing I would like to express is that the sustainability committee is aware of these challenges because we're living through a transition. I mean, we've had heat pumps, for years. They're much better now than they used to be.
They are, but I keep getting examples about people's homes. I don't have a home on the golf course.
Right.
I have maintenance buildings, workshops, and a building that needs to meet code for public, right? Like
Right.
that's what I need to get trained on. Not, hey, I got it in my house. Well, that's great. I think it would work well for a single home use. I just don't know if it works well for commercial use. And again, that's where I would just love to get trained on some of these things. I am open to this. It's just, wow, the lack of knowledge that I personally have on this makes me very nervous.
So let me just ask, because I'm still learning exactly how the city works here. So do you have to make these decisions in terms of HVAC and stuff yourself? Or is that something that the building maintenance like does for the whole city?
Yeah, Pleasant View Golf Course manages its own entities for the most part because we're self-sustained enterprise fund.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question, kind of in a line with where Jeremy's at. As a committee, how much outside help are we forced to accept? Because we have people who, we have interested individuals who are now combing through things we're trying to do and have studied and made decisions about and support. And they don't go away. And I don't know who they answer to. So it's kind of a generalized question. How much help do we have to take?
That's a good question. We might be talking about the same people. I do know that there's some, I know that there are some aggressive individuals out there who are not part of the sustainability committee who have even at times represented that they were when they're not. And I think that has caused a lot of problems across different departments because it creates ill will and then you don't know who you're dealing with. So for how much, assistance, part of that I think has to be a common council answer. I mean, I'm on a committee just like this, meaning, we're advisory. So we're helping everybody to do this. The city has goals and they need everybody to work together to achieve these goals. And so we're trying to put together a plan to address that for very divergent departments. Obviously, the golf runs, like you said, manages itself as an individual entity that's different than the library or something like that. So writing a plan that meets everybody's needs is tough. I can write that question down. How much? I'll put it except outside help. And then I would kind of, I guess, elaborate that to say how much, how much does this plan require you to, I guess, how much of this plan are you required to follow? I mean, obviously, if it's city, if the council passes it, as I understand it, it's the part in the standards. And the checklist is supposed to provide an opportunity to allow you to say, we considered all options, here's the options. And the on paper most sustainable option is not the one that works for these reasons. So one of the examples I gave at council was our EMT chief, EMS chief, said, yeah, the electric ambulances exist, but they cost 4 times regular ones. So that's not possible. And so you could say, I looked into it, I did my due diligence, it's not feasible. And that's that. I would think that common council would say, okay. So that's how I kind of understand that this is supposed to work, and that you go through, you do your due diligence in terms of like buildings and stuff. The idea is with the quotes and bids, we address these issues on the front end. And so you don't have to deal with it afterwards, where someone's like, oh, you need to up that R value and they, insulation and stuff. So I can't answer how much outside.
I can answer that. I mean, it's Tom, I make recommendations to this governing body, right? The golf committee, who then recommends to the finance finance to common council. That's the pecking order currently, right? And to Laura's point, with this new policy, if like for example, the mower, the diesel mower this afternoon or this afternoon, this that I was going to recommend approval for this evening, right? A brand new one is 60K, and we found two mowers for 36K. You know, so we've got a price justification in there, and albeit one of them is actually an EV mower, but the point is I have a justification, and then it's up to finance to say, yeah, you know what, we agree with this. We are going to make a motion to common council, and then it's common council. For me, it's the consultants that we hire or the experts that we hire. And I think that's where I'm getting a little bit confused is we have paid people to construct a building, to tell us this is the best thing to move forward. And frankly, this has been going on for a year, and then all of a sudden, man, I'm getting hit by all these things, and it just makes it so confusing and deflating, right? I feel defeated. And
And that, Jeremy, is my point.
yeah,
Your checklist, moving through the checklist, and Laura, I want to thank you for the presentation. I thought it was very clear. Makes sense. It's not like we're not in on this. We are. But as you move through that checklist, there are multiple opportunities to get blindsided with help piled on expert help you've already paid for, and then you loop for a while. And that's where my concern is. So when I say, how do we protect ourselves from too much help? It's that looping thing. We have we seem to have run into an individual, and I suspect others will too, that have a sense that they're the final arbiter on how business at the golf course will go forward from this point on. That's not tenable. We're trying to run a business.
Yeah.
so I think, Laura, you know, like to wrap that up, I guess I think I want to know who can we trust, right? That's ultimately what I would like to know.
All right. So I will work on that.
And that's a
I
bummer,
can.
right? It's a bummer that our trust has been shaken. Like it's too bad. Gosh.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, at this point, I can't answer that because I don't know who your consultants were. I don't know. We haven't named any names. I have an idea of who might be imposing his or her will. But this problem has come up before. And so I would say that we need to, it is something that at least the Sustainability Committee is aware of. I've made the council aware once, and I can go back to them again and try and work on that. I agree that trust is an important issue, and also just knowing when you cut it off. I mean, I used to teach creativity, and that's one of those processes that can go on and on and on and on forever, and there's no end if you don't have parameters and barriers. You have to say, all right, we're done with this part. We'll make something now. We're good. And I kind of think the same thing happens with sustainability. You can go down all these rabbit holes, and it can go on forever, and you're splitting hairs. And it's like, let's just focus on the big stuff. Let's get the biggest bang for your buck. That's where we're focused. How much can we do? Biggest bang for your buck. What can we save? And that's where the life cycle cost analysis is supposed to come in, but that also can get kind of wonky. So we're trying to, narrow it down to, all right, let's agree on this, and this, and go forward. And we are looking at 2 tools there to try and do that. There's some that are online, but they're even more complicated. So the idea is, how can we slim it down and make it usable? Let's not make perfect the enemy of the good. So that's what we're trying to do. Let's achieve some progress moving forward, not trying to be perfect, realizing it's not going to be perfect, and still do some good and make some progress on the goals. And so that's what we're working on.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciate you having the dialogue with us as a staff. When was that? Maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago, whenever that was. It was very useful. at least from my mind. So thank you for that. I hope that my concerns are not, I hope you don't feel like I'm attacking, because that's not it at all. I'm pretty passionate about what we do. I just, I think I would just love to understand a little bit more before I personally can say, yes, I'm all in, but that's not up for me to decide, right? That's up for the Common Council to decide.
Okay, well, like I said, I will work on that, and I will try and, to the best of my ability, get back to you with some answers that we can address, and things that we can't. And ultimately, I have a
And I do have a list of questions on the Falco tool, if that helps. I don't know if it does or doesn't, but I mean, or a list of concerns, but we don't have to go through that right now, but because we did try to vet it as much as we could. It's just a little complicated.
it is a little complicated. I was going through that too. That's kind of why I want to see Milwaukee's tool. They created one internally. So, I mean, what I would like to do, and again, it's one of those things that, how do you account for everything? How do you account for moving targets and tie it all together? So if you do have that list of concerns, email it to me. I can look into it myself, but better than me, I'm not an engineer. I would get it to Kelly and make sure that she has the engineers address these questions that are going on. But having these questions out that more people look at, I think, is wise. It's kind of like more eyes on the problem. Somebody's going to find the right way through. So yeah, so we don't have to go through them tonight. If, I don't want to take up all your meeting's time, but email them to me, and we can, I'm happy. I'm around to like at least look at it, go over it, talk to you about it. The idea is to get something that everybody can live with. It's not going to be perfect, and it's probably not everybody might be happy about it, but can we all agree that, okay, we're pointed in the right direction, and this is a reasonable, doable plan, and I'm happy to tighten up the checklist if you think there's ways that we can do that. That was kind of a first draft on that.
Oh, the checklist I like a lot. I think it was really good. Yeah.
Okay. So anything that we can do there, we will.
Have you heard of, I know that you mentioned this, but it hasn't been settled. Have you heard the 20%, 25%, the cost of for battery operated equipment above the normal?
No, and I asked, I guess I can stop sharing my computer screen here. I did, who did I do the last committee? Oh, that was Parks and Rec. And I mentioned it again, and it was Alder Nelson, but she didn't comment
Okay.
on it. So I don't know more on that. I've heard just two ideas floating around. One is to come up with a threshold. Another is just give your justification, but just provide the information also, like the ambulance example I gave you, is to say, hey, it's 4 times as more. I don't think that's realistic, but here it is. And this, and that's enough. But it would be nice. I believe that Milwaukee's staff, obviously wanted that. So you could make some decisions without necessarily having to, maybe on some of the smaller stuff. It's like, okay, we're within the 20%. Let's just do it. And that might be helpful to you if you act as a, your own entity.
You mentioned that there was, concerns about the Falco tool that were maybe brought up by the streets department. Any concerns brought up by the Parks and Rec Committee?
Not with the Falco tool. The Parks and Rec Committee, no, I have to look up. Let me see if I have my notes on that. Hang on a second. See what the Parks and Rec said. Parks and Rec. Yeah, what really came through with the Parks and Rec was, and I think this came from both the Alder and member Tressler, suggested getting the information out to the community more, especially the downtown businesses. So they were, the committee was a little bit more focused on making sure that the public knew what was going on. And I think that was in response to some of this citizens coming directly to staff and attacking you. So that was the focus there. Kylie, she was just concerned about agreeing to something that maybe she couldn't do. So that might follow with your concern about, training. She just wanted to make sure that she wasn't agreeing to something that in practice would be kind of impossible. So the thing that I put forth is I think that as long as we're all moving forward in good faith to, try and have environmental stewardship in a fiscally responsible way, that's kind of the underlying theme of this. And doing it through purchasing is also a way to kind of clean up your supply chain. And so as a city, when you ask your subs and the people doing the bids to give you, bids that are more fiscally and environmentally responsible, then hopefully their businesses and it trickles out.
And then last, maybe final question: Who is enforcing this? Is it the Common Council that's enforcing this?
Yes, that's my understanding. That this is, we were asked by Common Council to put together an implementation plan for the sustainable purchasing policy, which was passed in 2023, and then it bounced around, got to me, and then I worked with some other people on the committee to put something together.
I apologize. Let me clarify. Meaning, so we're going to bid on something. Who's enforcing that we're following that checklist? I'm assuming it's the Common Council at the
Yes.
end. Okay, so it's not, the Sustainability Committee is not being the enforcer on this.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just
No.
trying to understand.
Yeah, I think as I understand it, the idea is to loop Kelly in on the big ticket items or the big high impact, high value items. So a big building that's going to have heating and cooling and, energy and use, anything that's going to have a big impact like that. Try to loop Kelly in on the front end instead of the back end, so that there might be some rebates. We're again back in that a little bit of flux here, because we have kind of a change of administration right now. There's a lot of money, federal money out there for insulating buildings and doing infrastructure deals. It would be nice if that money remains available, and as my understanding, it would take an act of Congress to pull it back, but some of that money is available to cities, and it can be quite lucrative, and in some cases pay for insulation and things like that. So a big part of this is make sure you check with her for rebates, tax rebates, and things like that, because there is money out there, more money than there has been in the past. And we don't expect you to go down that rabbit hole. I mean, nobody knows how to, I'm not any good at grants and that type of stuff. She is. And so save your time and just ask her questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think this is, like a key reason why there needs to be proper training, right? Is this is really the first I've heard of that, right? And we're building a building. The documents are already signed, right? And now we're trying to play, holy crap, did we do something wrong? And we haven't, from a legal standpoint, right? We followed everything that we've been told to do. I just think this is so important. That's why training is just so important.
Yeah, I think I know your maintenance building. I think that got caught, what you would say, in the transition.
Yeah, like this purgatory zone, like land. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it's like they passed the sustainable purchasing policy. They asked us to make this thing, and your building just happened to go up before it all got tied together. And so now you have to deal with it on the back end. You shouldn't have to deal with that. That's the goal of this plan, is that we deal with it on the front end, so that hopefully this doesn't happen again. So hopefully somebody's not coming after you for not doing it. You can say, hey, we did it we did our due diligence. We did this. Council approved it. So that's the goal, is that this deals with it on the front end, and you shouldn't have to deal with these attacks on the back end.
I appreciate that. Timeline, ideally, when this gets approved?
Well, they keep asking, they want us to finish it. So after I do all the committees and hear back from everybody, my guess is all the committees that they listed, I have presented to tourism. I think they're just collecting information. And as soon as I have that, then I'm going to go back to Common Council and, make any of my final edits, list what has changed, list what's concerned, tell them we need, more direction here, things that the committee can't do, only council can, and then see what they do with it. I know they want to finish it up. I know they want to get going. So I would say early 2025 would be my guesstimate.
Okay.
Yeah, that was also in the document somewhere, Laura, where that was the timing that was mentioned, to close it up with Common Council by the early part of 2025, January,
Yes.
I think is noted specifically.
Yes. So that is definitely what we're targeting, and hopefully we can get it all done, get it done in 2025. This goes into effect, and again, I do want to reiterate, I mean, there'll be some bumps. There always are when you have something new. In terms of trust, this is not to be a gotcha document. This is to be a guiding document. And the goal, at least on my behalf and on behalf of the committee that I know, is to help deal with these things up front, just in line with the city policy that is in the comprehensive plan and the sustainable city plan and the strategic plan,
Right.
and all that. So that's what we took our guidance from, and that's its purpose.
Thank you, Laura, so much. That was incredibly helpful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your meeting. And again, to anybody on the committee, if you do have questions or think of something afterwards, feel free to email me those directly, and I will try and incorporate them into the plan and address them with council. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Night, Laura.
Okay, I guess I've got the ball. So we have any discussion at this point, Jeremy, on what we just talked about, or shall we move on to the next topic on the agenda? Just getting the thoughts of you and the rest of the committee.
Kim, what do you think? Do you think that this should they make like a recommendation of sorts?
I think a
Or-
recommendation would be helpful, but I think you kind of already did that. From what I understand from these meetings, we just need to provide Laura with some guidance as
Okay.
to what changes those. and you definitely did and voiced what we as a committee feel like we should see changed in that plan. So I'm comfortable moving forward with you making those recommendations to her, especially the concerns about the Falco tool.
Right, and the training in general, which I think it's not just training, but it's also to try to modify the plan to make it better, to get the input from the key teams, the key staff members, and the key departments that are going to get those big hits early. And so let's leave it at that. I thought, of course, I always take my copious notes, so I will help to put that recommendation together, Jeremy, so we can kind of take those notes and what we talked about tonight.
I think my fear is that, right, I've been told that we have violated whatever that resolution is about 15 times in the last week. But we didn't do anything wrong, right? And it's a policy, it's not law. And I think, we've kind of put this cart before the horse to some degree, right? Without fully understanding what this all is going to require or need from us as operators or sections of departments of the city to actually make this happen. And now at least we have some guidance that potentially will be in place here in the very near future of a plan, right? And yeah, I just feel like we sat in that limbo area, and we haven't done anything wrong in terms of our maintenance building. It just right now we don't I don't know. I guess
Jeremy,
I just don't know
see.
what to believe in because I don't know enough
I don't-
about this stuff, right? I've never built a commercial building before. Zero. I have zero commercial buildings on my record as far as building.
I don't hear anyone, Jeremy, at the final arbiter stage saying anything was done wrong. And the council decided that what you had done was done right. And if not absolutely right, right enough, given the fact that we're all learning our way through this. And that's what I would like to see the minutes reflect is that we working with sustainability are learning our way through this process. We have no intention of not doing that.
I'd love to be educated on it, right? I really, really would.
Mhm. So noted. So noted. Okay. Okay. So we're going to make some recommendations on that, and that's where we'll close that part of the agenda. Okay.
That's great. Thanks, Carl.
Okay. Next up, Jeremy, is a financial update.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Is it this one? I don't know which one it is. Yeah, it's that one. Great. Okay. Can you all see like cash flow projections right there?
We can now. Yep.
All right, great. Let me get that away. Do that one. Okay. So this is we'll call it revenues and expenses, pretty up to date. Okay. Now the expenses are not complete yet, right? So we still have there was some AP invoices that were paid out not too long ago. Credit cards have not been closed out from the month of December. So just bear in mind that this is not final, right? But this is as accurate as I have it. If literally just refined all the numbers at 4:30 this evening. So this is pretty accurate. So gross sales, we're looking at, right around, call it $4.2 million. Couple of these highlights, this earned interest, I'm taking what we did last year. I don't know what the number is going to be this year. Same things with these unredeemed gift cards and then the sales tax discount. All right. So these are all just last year's numbers. Couple other things. So expenses, I mean, everything is kind of tracking where I planned it would. If you recall, maybe 2 months ago when I was showing you these financials. There are no big surprises. As you can see, I mean, golf shop expenses are just slightly over budget, but when we're, in green fees, when we're $244,000 over budget in revenue for just green fees alone, obviously there's going to be more expenses. So I think it's pretty decent ratio if you ask me. Let's see. This clubhouse maintenance, our water heater did go out, and so we did have to do an emergency replace of our water heater. Now, good news is it's energy. We got a high efficiency water heater, which that should make people a little bit happier. So we spent a little bit more money to make it a more high efficiency water heater. I haven't gotten the final bill on that, but I'm guessing we're going to come in over budget on that one, about $5,000 due to that water heater. So, gosh, I mean, I don't know if I'm going too fast here, but I'm just picking out the pieces that I highlighted. Everything else, again, lines up. I mean, you can see grounds were at 261. Current budget was right around 250. When our gross revenues are higher, again, we're going to have more expenditures. So credit card fees are not final yet. Those are something that I do need to figure out exactly what those are, but that's a guess of where we're going to be for credit card fees. This personal contingency, we are currently at $0. I need to confirm with Bill why he has that as in there. So that might be an expenditure that goes away, but I kept it in there just for sake of being conservative. And then the transfer out, I don't have that in there because I'll show you in just a second. So that's why, it's under budget, $113,000, but we're going to actually transfer out about call it $37,000 to pilot. That's the pilot. So anyway, total expenses minus the pilot, that's where we're at 2.7. So here we're at, we're gross or operating profit is about 1.4-ish. So pretty good year. Capital payments, obviously we're dealing this on a cash flow, so apologize, Mark, you CPAs out there.
No
It's
worries.
not, yeah. But so capital outlay, we still obviously have the building, which is the big one that we have not had any expenditures for that just yet. So we're probably gonna have to roll those over into 2025, but that'll all come out from one fund anyway. But this is what we're looking at from the end of the year is $77,000, cash deficit after payment to TIF District number 3. So pretty good when all things considered. Any questions on that?
No, Jeremy, it looks great. Looks very good.
So then I placed it in here. This is the debt projection. So this is our, our gross revenues 4.2. Then our expenditures of roughly 2.8 leaves us with 1.4. This 93K, 94K, that was the assessment for Pleasant View Road that we paid to the city of Middleton. 135, that's the pilot based on gross sales receipts. There's TIF. Here's our capital expenditure, which leaves us with a final net decrease in cash of $306,000, which takes our capital reserves down to 1.1. Any questions on that?
Nope.
So that includes the maintenance building, right? And we've seen these. And then, if we end up doing the mowers next year, right, there's our capital expenditure. So we're right around $575,000 is what we're looking at, which that's what we were projecting.
Right.
And that's also assuming that's based on our budget. That's also assuming that we're, roughly $300,000 shy of this year's numbers, which I can tell you from my December so far, it has been the busiest December I've had in terms of booking golf outings. It's nonstop.
Wow.
I think I sent 3 agreements today.
Jeez. Wow.
Nonstop.
Well,
So
that's good news and bad news.
yeah, good and bad for sure.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, good and
It's
bad.
just unusual.
But if I'd be shocked, right, if that's the number. But I think we should still be conservative, in my opinion. So that's where it leaves us, right? And you can see that we're in a healthy state. 575, we move up to 775, then back down to 500-ish, then to $1 million, fluctuate back down, and then the $1 million. So we're still staying right in that ebb and flow of that $1 million that we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's working in the battery operated cart fleet that our goal is by 2030. So relocating the putting green, expanding that clubhouse just a smidge on the south side, getting the cart barn in there, all those things. And obviously, as we gather more information with the master plans, we'll be able to update these things, this projection accordingly. Any questions on this?
Nope.
So they're my financials.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, it's a result of so much work to get to that point, but it just looks great. So thank you. Shall we move on to the next topic?
Yeah. So golf operations. operation update, I mean, I don't think that there were any two major updates right now. Maintenance building, so did talk with the Iconica team today, and we're still looking at, okay, what is the best decision, you know, with this air source heat pump versus in-floor. I can tell you right now, they're not in favor of the air source heat pump, but they're going to look at the options. They're going to get me a like for like cost and everything. But it's going to be a complete redesign, and they're going to have to bring an architect team back in here and look at. I don't know. I just feel very, what's the word? Maybe defeated, because this should have been done 8 months ago. And or whatever the timeline is, and it's a shame that we've already built the building or designed the building, had the building approved, and now these guys are going back and forth with me, going, "You are insane. We need to get this building up and running, otherwise we're gonna be very delayed on the project." But I don't know,
And it's gonna cost more.
and it's going to cost more. That is correct.
And it's
That
gonna
is correct.
slow everything down for the next 5 years. Everything's gonna kind of tumble along.
So, but Iconica has been wonderful to work with. They are looking at the options. They do not agree with the air source heat pump for this application.
Do they have timing yet on their look at that, Jeremy, and how long it'll take them to do their analysis of that?
They're redoing it after the latest email exchange.
I don't understand. The council approved the building as presented. We got some flack from someone who thought he'd do it differently. And now we're spending more and more money and more time I mean, is that where we're at? This is exactly what I was referring.
That's where we're at, Tom.
Referring to earlier. Kim, what's going on?
Well, in light of the fact that we are trying to implement this sustainability policy, we're doing our best as far as due diligence and making sure that we are staying within the parameters of the comprehensive plan and our sustainability plan. Now, I think that Jeremy is going above and beyond what actually needs and was mandated by the council. And so I know it's frustrating, Jeremy, but I, for one, appreciate the fact that you have done everything that you are doing to make sure that we're going down the right path and doing it right. I would be surprised to see Iconica come back with anything different than the original plan, and so that's kind of disappointing. But yeah, from that standpoint, I think we're just trying to do our best to make sure that we are staying within the city's goals.
And I appreciate that, Kim, and I think that's why I am taking time to make sure that I'm as educated as possible, right? But I think that that's where I just don't know who to believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's understandable, and I am very hopeful in looking at that implementation project that checklist is something that we are going to be able to use on the front end of every project to say, okay, no, we've already done this. We've already done the steps. We've already done our due diligence. We have followed this plan. This is why we came to the decision we did. And that's the decision, right? Instead of having to now backtrack, which is costing the staff time and delays.
Right, and I think that's the frustrating part is this backtracking stuff, and Iconic is getting frustrated too, and rightfully so. I think there's multiple people that are frustrated.
I'm reminded of two things. City finishes a new street in a neighborhood The pavement is beautiful. Everybody is saying, boy, it's nice to drive on this street. It's been here now a month. I wish we'd had it earlier. And then next Monday, a crew shows up and they dig a big hole in the brand new street because, well, they forgot to do something. I, we're like getting a hole dug on us here. It's just-
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
So the guy wants to buy new ambulances, and they say, gotta buy electric. Can't buy electric. It's 4 times more expensive. Yeah, you're right. We'll go with what they said they should get. And then the guy comes back and he says, oh, I found a different electric ambulance. It's only 3.5 times more expensive. You got to start over.
So this will be my last vet, right? Again, this will be my last vet on it, and I think I'll just see what they say, and I'll update you all accordingly. But as of right now, we are getting the ball rolling because we need to get this thing up and running. We need to get this thing built, and in the meantime, I will continue to look at all options regarding sustainability from an HVAC standpoint. And obviously, I will not do anything if it costs the project more money without your approval.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep, that's fair.
Multi-use path, so no major updates. I was actually hoping that our gate would be already relocated, you know, the fencing already put in, nothing. I did reach out to the company a couple, let's see, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I know that this time of year is always funny. They're usually really good about getting back to me. Yeah, so no major update as of right now. I'm not concerned because we haven't paid anything, but I just would love to get this up and finish. I would love to finish it, is all. And then the master plans. So no update on the golf course master plan that's needed, but the clubhouse master plan, I should have numbers on what that could look like here by the end of December. So maybe by the next meeting, I have some good preliminary numbers for some of that clubhouse expansion. You know, what the cart barn would potentially look like cost-wise. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, just on the fencing, Jeremy, can they do that in the cold weather? Can they still do that?
Yeah, they can. It seems like they've got no problem in terms of getting the required holes dug out in the wintertime. They dig through, you know, asphalt and things like that. So
Right. So they can dig through a little bit of hard surface and soil. So, okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So the request for approval is next up.
Yeah, let me, I'll have to share my screen. Let me pull it up. Pulling it up on Google Maps here. Okay. All right, you got the view of, well, this is hole 6 of the Woods Golf Course. Can you all
Yep.
see it?
Yes.
All right, so John from Court approached me. So it's kind of difficult in here to see, but there's like a ravine that's, you see my cursor going back and forth. There's like a ravine right in here, a ditch, big ditch.
Mhm.
They have a single track path that goes, well, excuse me, it's a 2-way traffic path that goes right next to the ravine. Okay, kind of goes in here and goes out that direction. What they're asking now, if you can try to visualize here, I wonder if I could draw on this thing. Yeah. All right. So let's say here's the ravine-ish. Now, this is not to scale or perfect or whatever. Just bear with me. And let's say there's single track. How do I change color here? Yeah, it's not fun. I can't change color. Yeah, I can. Great. Let's say their current bike park is, or trail goes like this, something like that. Now remember, it's two-way, right? So, you know, if a biker is going down this way, they've got to wait for that person to essentially, you know, like they got to just have to dodge traffic. So what they're asking is can they add, you know, another trail that goes something like that ish. Okay. Um, it's maybe 5 to 10 feet where they would theoretically, or not theoretically, excuse me, they would encroach onto our property, right? So the property line is that red line. Because remember, everything this direction is not Pleasant View Golf Course land. This is of that red line right there. And everything this way of that red line is Pleasant View Golf Course, financed owned land. Obviously it's all the city of Middleton, but we pay finances over all everything to this side of that red line.
Jeremy, tell me what green are we looking at?
Yeah, that is 6 Woods Green. So
Yeah, okay.
8, yeah, so 7T is over this direction, but yeah. So they're seeking approval to build a trail on Pleasant View Golf Course land. There are a couple of my thoughts, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. My thought number one is it's not that big of a deal because it's not, the golfers will never notice. I mean, it's 5 to 10 feet, and I would be right there. I would make sure I'm right there giving, this is where I want the trail type of we would work together to ensure that there's nothing that would happen with golfers atmosphere, if you will. But my concern is where does this end, right? It's very easy to want to encroach towards the golf course just because it's better land, but where does that end throughout the rest of the trails? Okay. We came up with an agreement on essentially this red line where that is the boundary. And it was because of a financial obligation that we had. I mean, next year we're paying 450 grand back to TIF for the land that we purchased, right? Or whatever. So does this need to be a financial transaction, or is this just in good faith saying, hey, we still own this land, right? But just understand if for any reason that, let's say something happens, we get to commandeer that back. I mean, those are kind of my two thoughts, right? Where does it end? And is it that, if we want to do this, how do we do it? Do we do it financially? Do we do it like a handshake of some degree?
It,
Thoughts?
So can I ask a question from like a legal standpoint? If something were to happen with a biker on that land, do they sue Pleasant View Golf Course or the city of Middleton or both?
Good question. I think just due to the recreational activities, the city's protected no matter what, right? So it'd be like going into a park and I don't know, spraining an ankle. I mean, we've had accidents before, Brad. I mean, there's been multiple accidents out there.
Yeah.
Multiple. But I believe it's covered because I've asked that question on our golf course.
Mhm.
And what I've been told is that the golfer assumes the risk. And I would, now granted, I don't run the bike trails, but I'm assuming the biker assumes the risk.
I think Brad's question was more directed toward avoiding the claim in the first place.
Mm.
Because
Yeah, it's just one. I guess I'm kind of in the company of if we're gonna do it. I mean, it's fine. City can buy it back and they can assume that risk on there because all it takes is one really good lawyer to go back through these meeting minutes and like, oh, in good faith, they can have this land, and then comes after Pleasant View Golf Course for whatever reason. It's absurd. It's kind of crazy, but weirder things have happened.
No, that's a good point.
Brad, I'm with you on this one. I think you separate the legal issues by making it a sale. and the land officially transfers. And the other thing about making it a financial transaction is if you start giving it away, there's going to be requests in other locations. And how do you turn the next one down? It's going to be this constant, oh, but it won't hurt us that much. Maybe we could give them this piece. Let's not go there. If they can afford the price we set on it to get that bit of land, we can go forward.
Is there a more significant safety concern along this stretch that they require that or are asking for that two-way path? Like, is there something about the topography or the traffic that makes this in particular more prone to accident or problematic that they are making this request?
No, I think what they're just trying to do is just have one-way traffic instead of the current path is it's really designed for only one bike, and they've got two-way traffic right through the current trail. And so I think they're just trying to alleviate that, frankly, make it a little bit safer by adding a second trail so that's only one way. Now, the trouble is they can't go this direction because of that ravine. I mean, this red line, is right adjacent to that ravine. So the only option for them to make it happen is to go towards our land. And I don't have exact specifics, but just from my observation, it's probably 150 feet.
Okay.
Maybe not even.
The length of that trail that they want to, is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Now, again, I did not measure it, right? So
Yeah, no, I
kinda-
understand.
Yeah.
So they want to buy 1,500 square feet of land.
Ish, yeah.
And should you decide, Jeremy, to ever do any sort of redesign with the green, do you see that in the future where you might need to go that way? I mean, I know it's hypothetical, but just making sure you've got enough land if you ever want to move the green back or anything like that.
Yeah,
And I know it's a big drop off there, and it would be, on the backside, especially. Big B's lost a lot of balls on the backside.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't foresee that happening. But granted, I'm not a golf course architect, but it obviously goes that direction pretty steep, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know that we would ever, put something
Okay.
back here, but again, I'm not an architect, and it's amazing what they can and cannot do. Or it's amazing what they can do with those earth movers, right? I don't foresee that ever happening, Mark, to be honest.
Okay.
If
And
anything,
oh, go ahead.
If anything, that's about as far back as I think we would ever push
Okay.
there.
Okay, so from that, and there shouldn't be any concerns there as far as our ability to do anything in the future if we wanted. I thought there was a few meetings back that we had a discussion, and I don't remember what hole, if it was Woods 9
Would say,
on it was like a ravine near that upper tee box or something.
would say,
Was it Woods 8 where they had made a request to move something around another ravine or something?
yeah,
Am I remembering that right?
Yep, yep. That was up
So
here.
is that, I mean, did we submit to that request? And not
Right.
submit, that's a harsh word, but did we, I mean, where did that go?
Not yet. That was the cross-country
Okay.
ski. That was CXC.
Okay,
They wanted, yeah, so the great memory. They wanted to pave kind of like right, something like in here. And the trouble is some of this is our land.
okay. Well, it's just that,
There was a
just
big
yet
ravine,
another
like right in
request yet.
here or something.
So I think you do need to be careful on this. It's not, I mean, you're not going to use it probably, or the course isn't going to use it, but just yet another request. So, and I don't know what to say beyond that, but that seems to me like it's been 2 requests now to kind of do some things.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to get your feedback on it and see where we wanted to go. That's
I think we
yeah.
want to listen.
What's that?
I think we want to listen. I mean, if they want to buy it from us, I think we should at least listen to what they're saying, but I think we need to tell them that there's no opportunity here for a handshake. That's not going to happen.
Okay, so do we want to make a motion of sorts, or how do you want to?
Well, let's wait. I would wait until they came at us with something more formal. I mean, did they give you a written proposal or anything? Or
No.
I think you're just talking. Yeah, still.
Okay. Sounds good. That's great.
Hey, Mark,
Yes, Tom.
if you come off the 8th green and you move into the woods a little bit over here, draw a new tee box, Jeremy, directly right about there. Bring it into the woods a little bit, clear out some woods. We can put a tee box in there for you big hitters to play on. But you'd have to hit a really nice draw to get in a spot to play it well.
Uh-huh.
Those big earth movers, man, they can do amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Good, actually. Huh. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, almost done. This one should be relatively easy, at least I hope.
The rough mower.
You never know. Everybody have an opportunity to read the memo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any questions or concerns?
Well,
You know, I believe we stated this, but we feel it's a great opportunity to at least start vetting this stuff without believing people that have never ridden it before. So this goes, you know, goes back to that HVAC thing, you know. I think what we're so nervous about is it's just the unknown, and now let's flip it back to this rough mower. This at least gives us an opportunity to truly test it. And with us having to mow along Pleasant View Road now, and us having to mow some other areas that actually could use benefit a 60-inch deck mower instead of the 96, I think this is a good opportunity. We found it at a really good price, both mowers. The used Toro mower is, if you saw in the memo, Exmark and Toro are like the same company.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're still able to use the same parts and have the same dealership, all that good stuff. All of our concerns that we have when we bring in a new mower is that's not going to be an issue there. But now it does allow us to get this mean green and truly experience it internally and come up with our own opinions on it. So we found this to be, and plus it's $10,000 under budget. So we found this to be a great opportunity for us to start, I guess, getting in line a little bit more. So I'm looking for your recommendation to the finance.
I guess I would say, do I hear a motion to approve the two mowers as outlined in the memo?
I'll make that motion.
Not too sure exactly how we'll word it, but I think we'll find a good way to do that, Kim.
I would recommend for approval to finance and common council the quote for the rough mower and mean green mower as approved by the golf committee.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
That was you, Mark?
No, that was Brad, I
It was
believe.
Brad?
Yeah,
Oh, there you
I
are,
don't
Brad.
have that deep of a voice.
And then just to clarify, right? So the used Toro, the 96 inches is $18,000, and the 60-inch EV battery operated is $18,000 for a total of $36,000. A brand new, you know, EV one that we were looking at was 60. What is it?
Change.
Just under $60,500.
Hmm.
Okay, so quite a significant savings compared to a brand new EV 96-inch. A new X Mark 96-inch is $46,000.
Okay, thanks for the additional information, Jeremy. All those in favor of the motion, which has been seconded, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Oh, this is for the 2025 budget. I think that was in the memo. So yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Great. I think I'm done.
You've done enough, Jeremy, so it's fantastic. Thank you. Kim, do you have anything to report from the Common Council?
Oh, sure. As you're all probably aware, if you drive around Middleton, we've got an awful lot of construction going on, right? So Bell Farms is up and in full swing. Ziegler Farms is now Pheasant Crossing. Those streets actually have names and plats and parks planned. So the most recent iterations of that just got approved through the Common Council. Redtail Ridge continues to truck on. There's a new apartment building going up on
High
John
Road?
Hammond's.
Mhm. Oh, okay, another one.
Yep,
All right.
that one's in my district, so that's
Mhm.
full speed ahead. That's why there's a crane parked on John Q. Hammond's and will be for the foreseeable future. But lots of building going on in Middleton. So neighbors for more neighbors, we're going to get some, and I think that's great. We're going to talk about the Prudential pedestrian mall at the end of the park on Lake Street. So that's that park where the new boat launch is going to be in the bike path through Public Works. We've got a plan now to extend the multi-use path down Allen Boulevard, and then ultimately hook up with the North Mendota Trail. So that'll be great once that all gets built. I think we'll all appreciate having the stoplights and markings redone on Century and Q Allen. I don't know if anybody else. That's why I'm looking at it now, going, oh, I can't wait.
Can't wait for that. Yeah, I go by there all the time. So yeah.
Yep. So that'll be great. Those are some of the big things kind of going on now that we've passed the budget.
Kim, have you heard any traction on the apartment complex across from Pleasant View Golf Course?
I have not.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything on that so far, and I haven't heard anything new coming in front of us about the Vern's site downtown.
Thank you for that update.
Oh, you're welcome.
Lots going on, Kim. You're right.
What is the projected increase in population? Do you know that by chance with all the construction?
I don't. And that's an excellent question. I know that there are 187 new homes that are going into Ziegler Farm. So that's a pretty, it seems like such a small place when you think about 187 new units. Redtail Ridge has at least that going into phase 2.
A lot more than that, Kim, I think.
Yeah. Well, just in phase 2.
Yeah, just in phase 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's phase 1 has I think more than that because of the way that the townhouses are built, and there's going to be a multifamily structure there as well. So
closer together. Yeah.
Yep. We're looking at quite a few new residences, which will be great.
Wow. And then, so that's pretty much, are we landlocked then, the city?
For all practical purposes, yes.
Yeah.
Those are the last big. The rest of it, we're starting to look, at least for multifamily, at infill designs, right? So there's Castle Rock and the 6300 University Avenue that'll be redesigned into multifamily because it's along University Avenue. It's along the transit corridor. People have access to buses and work, but
wow.
That's kind of it, which is why, keep an eye on the intergovernmental agreements happening between us and the town of Middleton, as well as the town of Westport talking about incorporating.
Oh, did the town of Westport ever incorporate, did any traction on that? I know that you mentioned that last time.
Yeah. So as far as I know, they're still in the vote process. of it, so that has to go, I think that would have to, if everything goes to plan, the actual citizen vote would be in April. Would be part of the April election cycle.
Okay, thank you.
So noted, Kim, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, shall we move to future agenda items? What would we like to see, guys? Financial update for sure, right? Update on the maintenance building and
Yeah, I
some of
was
the.
gonna say, update on the maintenance building is what I'm looking for in the next meeting.
Yeah. And should we include, Jeremy, anything on the bike trail expansion update on that, or shall we just wait to hear back on that one?
Why don't I just, if there's an update, I'll update.
Okay. And of course, Common Council report, Kim, so we'll have that on the agenda as well.
Absolutely.
Any other items that we want to jot down that the note keeper can note for the next meeting? Okay. Well, if not, then I think either Tom or I can, if there are no further items to talk about, other than having our next meeting, I think maybe we need to talk about that first, to set a date for our next meeting.
Let me get out my calendar.
'13th or the 20th of January. Either of those Mondays look better.
Would likely have to be the 20th for me because I have Public Works on the 13th and the
Okay.
27th. As they meet the 2nd and 4th weeks of the month.
So
Got it.
it's also
Okay.
a holiday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So what do you think? Maybe we need to, since Kim, you can't do Mondays, the 2nd and 4th Mondays of the month, right?
Right.
Jeremy, do you think we need a January meeting?
I do, because I would like to get the patio furniture quote approved. And this is a big ticket item that I've been working pretty hard on. And I just I think it's important just to the timing of them, being able to deliver it May 1.
Yeah.
So I do think we should have one. If we could do it on the 20th, I think that'd be really good. If you all do not want to do it on the 20th, maybe we can entertain the 21st. We could keep it nice and short. I can give you any financial update, but it's really just I would be seeking approval of quote for sure.
So Common Council meets on the 21st, so that's the 1st and 3rd.
Oh, shoot.
I would be available. L&O meets on the 14th.
Are we willing to do it on the 21st? That way, then I can push through that quote to Common Council on the 20th, and then the 21st. Sorry.
I'm okay with the 20th personally.
I'm fine with the 20th.
I
I am too. I'm good.
Yeah, I will be in Colorado, but I will join you via Zoom with the mountains of Vail in the background.
Nice,
Oh.
Brad. Nice. I love it.
Not to rub
Oh,
anything
way
in.
to throw that in there.
Thanks,
I love
Brad.
it.
That's not allowed. So it sounds like we can all do the 20th. So what if we set it for that date? Okay.
Yeah.
At 6:30.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, are there any other comments? Any other things?
Oh, I'm set.
If not, we'll officially close the meeting at 8:03.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you,
Everybody, really appreciate your time. And if I don't see you all, have a great holiday, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. So
All right, you as
Jeremy.
well.
Same to all of you.
Everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Take
happy
care.
holidays.